It's been a minute. I'm so sorry. The festive season got absolutely hectic with work and with family and just like everything went crazy, but I am so back. 2026 is the year of Disloyal Order. For my first film of 2026, I thought let's make it an absolutely brilliant one and let's finally react to Money Game 1, 2 and 3 by Ren. You guys have been asking me to check this out everywhere, on Instagram, on YouTube comments, on my other reactions, and I just have not been able to get around to it, and I'm so excited to finally see what all the hype is about. I know absolutely nothing about these 3 songs going into this, so I am so excited. If you don't know me, my name's Rosie and I'm a music journalist and critic, and you can find my website, Disloyal Order, linked down below. While I'm here, if you could pop my Instagram a follow, that would really help me out as I'm trying to up my following this year, and also my TikTok, I'm trying to get to 100k by the end of the year, so you'd really do me a solid. Alright, let's get into it. This is Ren Money Game, part 1. 3, 2, 1. Okay. Oh, this is eerie.
Strange time we're living in, war can put fear in. Hierarchy parties, they make us feel inferior. Greed runs through parliament interiors. Devils walk among us, they fit the criteria. Eerie, theory, strife, fearing, weary-minded men. When we're clearly living in dictatorships, nearly blinded by illusions to choose who's fooling who. A pull chain to your shoes on pain. It's a crying shame. The pursuit of our own wealth lights a flame that makes greed a game that lets this whole world burn. As the world turns, the whole world burns. But money was invented for trade. But now those bits of paper twist hearts, make slaves, turns a saint into a sinner, a child into a killer. His finger on the trigger of a money game. Oh, rain, 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 rain. A storm it comes our way. And those who rise through distorted lies, poison in the veins, but we like to point the blame, 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 blame. It's easier to blame, but point the mirror at ourselves. We're all part of this old money game. Stop.
Ooh. Who is this guy?
Dear Mr. President, it's evident that everyone's a resident of fear when they support these ideas to keep us separate. When they make us believe that everybody is coming to terrorize you in the streets. They say badly through gritted teeth, that's my right to hate. That's freedom of speech.
It's quite topical.
When did freedom become a reason to hate, a way to justify?
I'll pause. I was just saying this is quite topical. I mean, it's never not been topical. But yeah, I think especially with the US at the moment and freedom of speech and especially everything that ICE is doing over there. I don't want to get too into it just yet, but we'll see where this goes and have a discussion. But like, okay, I've gone back a few seconds.
But when did freedom become a reason to hate, a way to justify a racist slur or insult we make? There's an irony in freedom, cause us in the West, we have pillaged and plundered the murdered like savages, colonized all of the rest. That's called hypocrisy. Preach a certain value that you never keep yourselves. Your country was in flames, you denigrate yourselves in a second.
Oh my god!
Demonizing immigrants when really you're the immigrant, cause all of us are immigrants or descended from immigrants. Irony is imminent. I'll shed the light on immigrants. America was colonized by Britain. Britain, it was colonized by Rome, and also colonized by the Saxons. They were German, by the way. You know how people throw shade upon the Germans because of history's pain, and yet we made the same mistakes all again. Demonize a whole people, Jewish or Muslim, the same and the same. Old situations play on repeat. The same old TV shows repeat. Yeah, we worship the bleak. Our opinions aren't our own, and we follow like sheep. There's no left, there's no right. In the middle we sleep. Rain, 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 rain. A storm it comes our way. And those who rise through distorted lies, poison in the veins, but we like to point the blame, 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 blame. It's easier to blame, but point the mirror at ourselves. We're all part of this whole money game.
Hello.
This old money game.
Forgot I was recording. I got so invested. Sorry, I've literally just been like staring at this. Oh, this is before he got his tattoo. Taking the mic out. Okay. Okay. So this started as like, and there's still the underlying sentiment of it as like an anti-capitalism song, right? Talking about, I mean, let me get the lyrics up. And then we kind of swayed into like colonialism and geopolitics. And I guess there is still, like, they do have a connection. The capitalism as a foundation of society runs under the exploitation of people, which usually came from colonialist belief and ideology. But I feel like we went there so quick, and I don't think I fully understand the video. So I'm gonna read through these lyrics, and then I'm gonna read through some of the comments on the video, and then we'll get to Money Game 2, if that's all right with you guys. What's gonna have to be, because I'm not live, so you don't get opinions. That's what I'm doing. Greed runs through the parliament interior. I mean, of course, even with left-wing parties, there still is an element of privilege, I guess, there. And we all need to remember how much politicians earn, because holy shit. Eerie theories strike fear in weary-minded men. So this, to me, is, there's a big issue at the moment with like alt-right pipelines and like far-right pipelines, especially on like TikTok with young boys or young men, teenagers specifically. There's a lot of misogyny, there's a lot of racism, especially in the UK. I can imagine the US isn't much better. And it's these like conspiracy theories on, you know, these immigrants are all coming and they're taking our jobs or taking benefits or, I don't know, taking our homes. And it's these conspiracy theories that don't have any like good backing evidence behind it, that make people that already feel like they're being downtrodden feel worse. It directs the blame, when really the blame is on the people in Parliament who are actually making the policies that are taxing you more, that aren't putting the money into social services or into the NHS or into whatever you might need. And these politicians direct that blame onto, at the moment it's immigrants, but it happens all the time. I think every 10 years we get a different shift on who that blame gets put onto. Like, I think early 2000s, post 9/11, a lot of that was Muslims, and then a bit later a lot of that was homosexuals, and then a little later a lot of that was women, and now during COVID it was like East Asian people, no specific, just Asian people, and then now we're back on immigrants, but it's sometimes, it's not always immigrants, really. It's Muslims or people that some people assume are Muslim, and that's the kind of story that the government try and tell, and it changes every few years, like it really does, on who the blame gets put onto. And at the moment, it's convenient that it's immigrants or Muslims, which is not right, because it should be on Parliament, right? The pursuit of our own wealth lights a flame that makes greed a game that lets the whole world burn. The pursuit of our own wealth lights a flame. Okay, so lights a flame that makes greed a game that lets the whole world burn. So that relates to the video. Let me keep going. As bits of paper twist hearts, make slaves, turns a saint into a sinner, a child into a killer. I mean, this could be in a literary sense. I mean, slavery is illegal, but we've seen like sweatshops and child labour all across the world. Like Apple are really bad of it with how the iPhone is produced in the Congo. But also making slaves in like a less damning definition. We all, and I'm sure you do it and I do it, we all like go to our jobs and we do our 9 to 5, and we probably don't get paid enough for the amount that you contribute to your business. Like, think about how much profit you bring in your business and then how much you take home. And then you get taxed on that. And then you come home and you want to do your own stuff to better your life, whether that's a hobby or a separate career like I do here. But you are so exhausted from grinding for the man or the big guy that you are just not putting the work in for yourself, and therefore is your labour slavery. If you do it to just barely pay rent or your mortgage or food or, I don't know, your child's school uniform, then... And then turns a saint into a sinner, a child into a killer. Yeah, I think there is a thing with greed, and I think everyone has it. I think people that say money doesn't motivate me, that's just not true. But I don't think it is the money, it's just the living comfortably that people want. No one wants to suffer. And I think anyone that gets too sold on that idea do turn into the people that we all don't like now. It is definitely like a pusher of evil, right? And then a child into a killer. I mean, that could be anything. I've said before in the Tales of Jenny and Screech that there's a massive issue right now with youth violence, especially in the UK, and where I live in Birmingham. I don't necessarily think a lot of that's motivated by money. Might be wrong, but it's definitely a thought. And then this is what I paused on. So, dear Mr. President, it's evident that everyone's a resident of fear when they support these ideas that keep us separate. So it is the things that separates, at the moment in the US with the whole, everything going on with ICE, they're trying to split people into US citizens and non-US citizens. That is essentially, they're like, we need to get out all the people that are here illegally, the illegal immigrants, which you can have your opinions on regarding colonialism and freedom of movement and open borders as much as you like. But the issue in practice is that they're not just arresting illegal immigrants, they're also arresting people here with a visa or with a green card or naturalised US citizens or people that were just born there. They are just arresting and detaining US citizens, and that's because the people they've arrested and detained aren't white. And that is truly like the issue. They've got a non-American name, if you want to even call it that. And that is what they're actually separating people into. So I think I read it earlier. Correct me if I'm wrong. I believe ICE has detained 160 US citizens so far, which is insane. And making you a resident of fear when you support these ideas. So when people do try and get involved in these unlawful arrests, then they get killed, as we've seen with Alex Pretty, who was a ER nurse, I believe, something in healthcare, US citizen, saw an unlawful ICE arrest, got involved, and then got shot 10 times. And that is the resident of fear that you become, that you are forced to be on the wrong side because being on the right side only puts you in more of a danger. Then he said later, you know how people throw shade upon the Germans because of history's pain, and yet we make all the same mistakes again. We are living in a time, and I don't want to compare it to the Holocaust because I don't think you can compare anything to the Holocaust, and I don't think it's right to, but it's definitely reminiscent in a way that the silence on behalf of people during that time was still still upholding a system that committed loads of atrocities, and that's not right. And I guess it's tricky because I just said Alex Pretty getting involved got him killed, but then we look at Nazi Germany and the people that were complicit but weren't actively pro-Nazi or pro-Hitler, who didn't get involved for fear of their life or their family's life. And we're like, how could you do that? Because you're now just complicit in the genocide. But it is really difficult, especially when you look at it in real time, what's happening in the US right now. I don't think I really have an opinion. I don't want to make opinion. I think it's just insane at the moment. I think it's crazy. And I think if you're in the US, please do be careful. And then this, they say proudly through gritted teeth, it's my right to hate, that's freedom of speech. And we don't have freedom of speech in the UK per se, but I do have a strong belief that freedom of speech does not mean freedom of consequence. And I think hate for hate's sake, you're welcome to say that, but you also can't be surprised when you lose your job or your family members cut you off or you're called out on it, or worse. Listen, I'm not getting involved in that kind of discussion, but I think you need to take some humility if you're going to be a knob. And then this whole thing, demonising immigrants, and really you're an immigrant. I studied politics and international relations at university, and I specialised in geopolitics, and it really is just that. No one is more deserving of being in a country than someone else. Why would you? I don't know. I think Ren explained it better than I could, so I'm just gonna leave that. But then I just want to look at this music video real quick, look at some of the comments. I love how the guy on the guitar gets more frantic with his playing as his kidnapper gets closer, and also takes a second to start playing when the singing starts again to make sure he should be playing. It really sells the idea that he's been kidnapped and is just trying not to die. Okay, so there's not a huge amount of comments to explain what's going on. I do think the ending of this, when Ren goes to cover him in petrol and then he goes to do it and then second guesses it and actually does it to himself, I think that could go either two ways depending on the character Ren's trying to play in this. And it's either Ren is the bad guy, like a bad guy within this scenario, and it's a metaphor on how when you come up with this ideology and you're pointing the blame at other people, specifically immigrants in this case, all you're doing is harming yourself as a society. So it's either he's gone for the metaphor where he's like, we could be burning that, but really that you just burn yourself, or it's a moment of realization where he goes to pour the petrol on the guy, and then instead it's like, what am I doing? The issue is me. I'm not sure. What do you think? And I'm a bit confused with the eyes on the hood. It's very eerie. I think we should just get into part 2. 3, 2, 1. Ooh, vintage.
Strange time of living in panic and hysteria. Poor man learn, the rich man don't care for your narcissist mindset spread like malaria. Sit back and watch the show. America, Britain, split through fickle shit. A government of hypocrites. These counterfeit politicians sit in parliament, not adequate. Come on. Needlessly bleeding, resources all dry. Turn a blind eye if it means a pay rise. Oh, what a shame it would be, I would die if number 10 Downing Street burned in a fire. only joking, only messing. Don't be stressing, I'm a peaceful adolescent. There's no need to be unpleasant. Write my thesis in a rhyme scheme to analyze the brain while my fingers on the trigger of a money game.
Oh, rain, 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 rain. A storm, it comes our way. And no surprise to distorted lies. Poison in the veins, but we died upon the blame, 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 blame. It's easier to blame. But point the mirror at ourselves. We're all part of this whole money game. This old money game. This old.
Money is a game and the ladder we climb turns a saint into a sinner with his finger in crime. I'll break it down for you motherfuckers line by line. This is business economics in a nursery rhyme. She sells seashells on a seashore, but the value of these shells will fall due to the laws of supply and demand. No one wants to buy shells because there's loads on the sand. Step one, must create a sense of scarcity. Shells will sell much better if the people think they're rare, you see. Bear with me, take as many shells as you can find and hide them on an island. Stockpile them high until they're rarer than a diamond. Step two, gotta make the people think that they want them, really fucking want them. Hit them like Bronson. Influencers, product placement, featured primetime entertainment. If you haven't got a shell, then you're just a fucking waste, man. Free, it's monopoly. Invest inside some property. Start a corporation, make a logo, do it properly. Shells must sell, that will be a new philosophy. Swallow all your morals, they're a poor man's quality. 4. Expand, expand, expand. Clear forest, make land, fresh blood on hands. 5. Why just shells? Why limit yourself? She sells seashells, sell oil as well. 6. Guns, sell stock, sell diamonds, sell rock, sell water to a fish, sell the time to a clock. 7. Press on the gas, take your foot off the brakes, then run to be the president of the United States. 8. Big smile, make big wave, that's great. Now the truth is overrated, tell lies out the gate. 9. Polarize the people, controversy is the game. It don't matter if they hate you, if they all say your name. 10. The world is yours. Step out on the stage to a round of applause. You're a liar, cheat, a devil, a whore, and you sell seashells on the seashore.
Rain, 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 rain. A storm, it comes our way. And no surprise to distorted lies. Poison in the veins, but we died upon the blame, 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 blame. It's easier to blame, but point the mirror at ourselves. We're all part of this whole money game.
Oh, sorry, I know this isn't the point, and in fact it's actually against the point, but do you guys remember the £1 million drop? What a game show. Fuck, sorry. Okay, so I want to speak about the video immediately here, I think. I'm certain I missed things watching that. They're very quick visuals. But going back to what I said about the Nazis, there was some of that in there. I also believe there were some clips from Who Wants to Be a Millionaire in there, which I'm not sure if that's just a British game show or if that's... It can't be. That's got to be a worldwide thing. But in the UK, a few years ago, there was a contestant who cheated through it, and they had someone in the audience that was like coughing based on the correct answers. There's a really good movie about it if you want to watch it. Yeah, that's definitely like how far will people go to lie and to cheat. But there was also a lot of stuff in there about the British Parliament, a lot of stuff in there about Donald Trump, and also digging for oil and war and environmentalism. And let's look at the lyrics. So we start the same way we started in Money Game Part 1, I believe, Strange Times We're Living In. And this kind of, the repeat of that kind of says what I said in the beginning, where I was like, this is so relevant right now, but we kind of get this cycle all the time. This is just a cycle. I think every single year you could be like, oh, strange times we're living in, because nothing ever changes, like nothing gives. So we said strange time we're living in, world can put fear in you. And this time it's strange times we're living in, panic and hysteria. I don't know what's going to happen in 3, but from 1 to 2, it's like they've planted that seed of fear and doubt in you that something's an issue, and then it's kind of grown, and now in Money Game Part 2 you're in panic and hysteria. Poor man learns the rich man don't care for you. So you have come to that there is an issue that isn't immigration, and it is in fact billionaires. Britain split through fickle shit. They're talking about Brexit. I guess Brexit as a concept isn't fickle, but I think the way it was handled in campaign was very fickle. Like, we had the Brexit bus that lied about how much we spend on the EU that could go to the NHS. Like, there was definitely some fickle play. And these counterfeit politicians sit in Parliament, turn a blind eye if it means a pay rise. So we've got a parliamentary whip in the UK, and this is the person on both sides who basically stresses people to vote the way that the party wants them to vote, which is super undemocratic. There is kind of a place for it. There are pros and cons, but I think there's more cons. And essentially, if you try and vote against your party in Parliament, especially as a government, even more so if you haven't got a majority, your party whip, who has a loyalty to the party, will be like, if you do vote this way, we'll give you a benefit. That might be a seat in as a minister, that might be some money, that might be a private deal behind the doors that isn't government money, but I don't know, someone might have an extra side business or something in stocks that they can pass over. Or alternatively, they'll say, if you don't vote this way, say goodbye to your campaign funding. You're never becoming a minister. You're never getting on the front bench. You have to vote this way. And that incentivizes people to turn a blind eye and not vote how they truly feel like they should do, even though they've been voted in by their constituents to do so. And then verse 2, love this verse. So we go back to turn a saint into a sinner, and then we're going into the core of business economics. And I love the way he went through this. Selling seashells on a seashore, but the values of these shells will fall. Of course, we're in a depressive economy at the moment. So creating a sense of scarcity. Now this, in the concept of shells, well, yes, you can collect all the shells on the beach and stick them on an island, and then you've got all of them. But also this scarcity is in money. We have billionaires hoarding way more money than they could ever spend it on, because the value of that money drop, like it's high for everyone else, but it's nothing for you. But also scarcity in product for economics can go as far as food. We saw in 2020 during lockdown when all the toilet paper was suddenly gone. Why was everyone hoarding toilet paper? I still don't really understand it. Have a shower if you absolutely run out. But the price of toilet paper was crazy. You can see it in the US when it comes to storm or hurricane season. The price of bottled water, the price of tinned foods all go up because of the scarcity, and there's a kind of moral judgment in whether that's right for things like food or medicine to go up in price. So step 2, got to make people think that they want them. And he's talking here about influencers, product placement, primetime entertainment. Absolutely. I mean, I work in marketing. Advertising goes a long way. And I think we're all guilty of this, where you've bought something and you're like, I need this. You see it and you're like, I need this, whether it's I don't know, I've bought like vinyl before, I've bought clothes, I've bought makeup, I've bought tech accessories, and I've been like, this is an absolute necessity. And even when I've thought about it for about 2 weeks and proper deliberated on it, I've been like, absolutely, I need this iPhone, because I need it for my career, I need it for my social life, I need this piece of clothing because it's band merch and it's only coming out this once, which is the scarcity. I'm like, it's a limited run of fucking t-shirts. I absolutely need it because everyone else is going to have it and everyone's going to think I'm really cool for having it. And then now, can I remember what I bought? No, I can't remember what I bought. And you know what? No one gives a shit. Like, I did not need it. And I think I make myself feel really guilty for making impulse purchases like that, even when they're not an impulse. But that is the way that capitalism is made to make you feel. And I don't think you should feel bad about feeling guilty. I think you could feel guilty, but I don't think you should feel bad about feeling guilty, because that was the plan the whole time. So 3, it's monopoly. Invest inside some property, start a corporation, make a logo, do it property. This is a good way to transfer your tax money around. Directors of businesses can take a shareholder's cut. Shells must sell. That will be your new philosophy. So in the company that I work for in my 9 to 5 and in the work I do here on Disloyal Order, we've laid out some really strict values for the businesses, right? And if people don't align to these values, whether that's clients or shareholders or freelance people that you might bring in, then we don't work with them. And most small businesses have that kind of mindset, and individuals will definitely have that mindset. We've seen it with, I don't know, Palestine boycotts. A lot of people don't buy from McDonald's or Apple or Coca-Cola because they're boycotting because they don't believe in the values that they're also contributing to. But when companies get so big and the CEOs of these companies get so rich, that those values start to not matter, and your only philosophy is then shells must sell. It doesn't matter who we sell it to. It doesn't matter who we're buying from. It doesn't matter who works there. We've just got to make it work. And that is when people start getting taken advantage of. Places start building, or companies start building an economic value in a country where maybe they shouldn't. I think that happens to most small businesses as they get big. I'm trying to think of a massive business that still has really good values, and I can't think of one. 4, expand, clear forest, make land, fresh blood on hands. Of course, deforestation is a massive issue. I feel like I don't need to explain this to y'all. 5, why just shells? Why limit yourself? She sells seashells, sell oil as well. Like there's some tenuous link between seashells and oil. Oil is a huge issue, digging for oil, especially the United States, of course, historically have been really poor for it. Is it too soon to talk about Venezuela? Perhaps, but you know what I'm talking about. 6, guns, sell stocks, sell diamonds, sell rocks. So at this point, you've got no avenue in your market. You're not the seashell person. You are selling whatever benefits you, even if it's diamonds or rocks. Like, so similar, I guess, same category, but not the same at all. Selling guns, it kind of reminds me of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, when when Frank's like soda company starts like selling it to like a terrorist organization. Have you guys seen that episode, or am I talking? I just don't know if I remember it. I saw it ages ago. And then run to be the president of the United States. And this is a huge issue, and it's becoming more and more of an issue in the UK, I think, of businessmen becoming leaders in politics. Less researchers and actual politicians and people that invest themselves in learning politics or studying it or going to protests or getting involved in grassroots political movements. Less of those people are becoming the representative of political states, and it's kind of just turning into billionaires or millionaires, but billionaires who have had a business and have taken advantage of people their entire careers are being voted in, and then we're all surprised when they take advantage of us. And it's like, that's what they've been doing for their whole life since they got daddy's business at 22. Donald Trump's really bad for it. Of course, he was a businessman before he was the president. Is he qualified to be a politician? I don't think I need to answer that. And then polarize the people. Controversy is the game. It doesn't matter if they hate you, if they all say your name. Like, all publicity is good publicity. For example, the media often uses the left or the right to generalize half the country when talking about politics, despite everyone being an individual. People also like the concept of bad and good because it requires much less thought than seeing both sides of an argument and formulating their own opinion. And then 10, the world is yours. Step out on a stage to a round of applause. You're a liar, a cheat, a devil, a whore, and you sell seashells on the seashore. So I think there is a bit of sadness in it, because once you've taken advantage of absolutely everyone, and you can see this on much smaller levels, even in this industry that we work in. You can see it in YouTube. In fact, people that have a graft and like really work to get themselves to a place where they feel successful, a lot of the time have done so by isolating themselves, not checking in on their friends, not being a good friend, because either they've been so invested in their graft, or because they have felt like these friends that they once had are no longer beneficial to their future vision as a creator or whatever they're doing within their business. And you might have all the success, but what else do you have? Do you have the friends, the family, the support system around you to even appreciate what you've built. Let's go on to Money Game Part 3. 3, 2, 1. Ooh, piano. Woo! Oh my god, it's the guy from the first video, right? Shout out to Sam. This visual of like a noose around their neck. And the red tie. It's a long video.
Let me tell you a story about a boy named Jimmy. 1 year old and his first words were mine, mine, gimme. 2 years old he was walking, 3 years old walking quickly. 4 years old he was running round the pavements of his city. 5 years old and his daddy told him, listen here son, you gotta learn to be a man. A man, he works for what he wants. 6 years old and he's reading, writing, top of the bunch. And when he's 7, his progression made him student number 1. 8 years old and he's praised for unusual grades. 9, his parents paid for private school to nurture the flame. 10, 11, 12, 13, he ascends and ascends. His daddy tells him, son,
it's gonna be about like
money is the
burnout.
means to all ends. 14, solving complex mathematical equations. At 15, IQ 150, still elevating. 16, he develops complex software code that detects weaknesses in cybersecurity protocols. 17, and he sells his vision, keeping the share. Not yet an adult, but he's practically a millionaire. 18, and his...
I just want to pause there before I forget. So he said at 17 he sold this cybersecurity code and he kept the share, but you can see Ren pull out like a fan of money and gives him 1, which is exactly the issue. Like, he developed this as a child, he sold the share and made a fraction of the profit of it.
Cybersecurity protocols. 17 and he sells his vision, keeping the share. Not yet an adult, but he's practically a millionaire. 18 and his daddy tells him, now you're a man. This world don't give a damn about you, so take all that you can. 19, he turns a profit, stocks and shares, invest in product. 20, double down deposits. 21, his income rockets. 22, he learns the truth is just an obstacle to wealth. If you manipulate the data, then the lie will sell itself. 23, a life of luxury, crystal and cocaine. 24, he makes the Forbes list, they're applauding his name. 25, and his daddy tells him, listen here son, while you're sitting in that palace, that don't mean that you won. 26, a business shift, he switches business to arms. He's 27, dealing nuclear and shells in Iran. 28, inside the Senate, money bought him a seat. He's 29, a role of counsel in the president's suite. Now he's 30, his daddy says you're losing the race, you're just a servant
second to the king, not even in second place. 31, a big maneuver for his daddy's approval. Moving imports over borders from the exports out of Cuba. 32, moving grams, growing kilos to tons. He's 33, filling warehouses with powder and guns. 34, turf war with nobody to stop it. Blind eye from the po-po inside of his pocket.
This is so Peaky Blinders cool. Man's Tommy Shelby.
35, he gets the call. I'm sorry, son, but it's your father. Had a heart attack, I'm sorry, he's gone. 36, getting pissed up, abusing his product. 37, eyes glazed, disposition demonic. 38, with a prostitute, a moment of passion. Heating up a silver spoon and then chasing the dragon. 39, getting reckless and hungry for power. Daddy's words are still driving him to kill and devour. Makes a move against the cartel, but the strategy's flawed. They retaliate and leave him in a hospital ward. A bullet buried in his vertebra and one in his leg. The doctor sighs and says, I don't think you'll be walking again. Fuck. Let me tell you a story about a boy named Jimmy. He was 40 and he cursed the words, mine, mine, gimme. 41, he wasn't walking. 42, not walking quickly. 43, never running round the pavements of his city. 44, inside a palace with a mountain of gold. But those riches turn to rubble when perspective evolves. Weighing heavy on his conscience is the value of gold. Lamborghini for a life, trading money for souls. Jimmy followed the code inside the land of the free. Put your hand inside the cookie jar, take more than you need. And his example is exaggerated versions of me. And it's a version of him, and it's a version of she, and it's a version of you. There's no escaping the blame. The way we live is parasitic. Fuck the money and fame. Cut the music. This isn't entertainment. This is real life. The way we live is lunacy, community, it declines. Hyperpolarized, always fighting, then we divide. Truth is less important than the money that we designed. Money's an invention. Politics from our invention. They all come from people's ideas. Did I mention? Border's an invention. Law and order fuel the tension. It leads to people killing each other. My solution?
Suicide. Surely not. Maybe. It is. Can someone cast this man as Tommy Shelby?
Everything is subject to change. We could build utopias if individuals were taught to use their brains. But if we teach kids in schools to always be sheep and put themselves before the herd if there's more money for me, then there's no future I see where the humans survive. We're parasites inside a petri dish with cannibal minds. Mold will grow upon the surface then consumes till it dies. And our fate could be the same without this story to the wise.
That's cool.
45. Jimmy comes home out of the rain, soaking wet upon a wheelchair, drinking again. He is everything he wants, he is fortune and fame. He's a fortunate fool with an unfortunate fate. With a 45 caliber aimed at his brain. 45 a fitting number cause his age is the same. Here's the words of his father. It's such a damn shame.
Then he presses on the trigger of a money game.
Ooh. So this is what I said for Money Game Part 2. You've got all of this wealth and everything you work for, but no one to share it with, right? Let's look at the lyrics. First of all, before I look at the lyrics, that string quartet was beautiful. Oh my gosh, love that. Need more of that from Ren. Does he use more string parts like that in any other songs? And let me know in the comments so that I can react to him. So this was different from the other two, and that it was, I was going to say less of a commentary. That's not true. It was still commentary, but it was told in the story of an individual, kind of like how the tales of Rennie and Screech were told. So it goes through his early years as a child. Obviously there's a lot of like hope and definitely a lot of pressure on his parents, specifically his father. And what I found was interesting was this whole, you gotta learn to be a man, and a man works for what he wants. I do think, especially at the moment, there's a lot of content, like red-pilled men content, where it's both misogynistic, really disgusting towards women, but also the reason people get hooked onto it and become misogynists are because they fall into the whole like work for your graft, work for what you want mindset, which is what a lot of them do. They're like, I work 16-hour days and I don't stop working. And then I think young men in their teen years get invested in that mindset because they want what's good for them, because they want the rich lifestyle that they see on social media. And then with that later comes then the misogyny which they fall into, which is why we're in the shit we're in now. Truth is just an obstacle to wealth. If you manipulate the data, then a lie will sell itself. I don't know if that's speaking about anything specific. When it's critiquing the unethical practices that are often used in business and politics, Jimmy learns that honesty can be a hindrance to making money and that manipulating information can be more profitable. This reflects a cynical view of capitalism and the pursuit of wealth. And then at 23, getting into a life of luxury, crystal and cocaine, making a Forbes list. I actually know someone who is on the Forbes 30 under 30 list who is not like this. First of all, not like this at all. A very hardworking woman who's doing really good things. But it definitely comes with a lot of stress and pressure to perform correctly. And that is a very esteemed list to be on. So then at 26, a business shift. He switches business to arms and he's dealing nuclear and shells in Iran. I mean, and this leads him to getting into the Senate, working for politics. It is kind of, I don't want to say a natural progression for these kinds of business owners, because I guess it's not. But there is a kind of history in the demographic that you see in the Senate of stuff like this. And he's lost his morals, essentially, dealing shells and nuclear and just anything that will get him the profit. And his dad still, sorry, what a fucking knobhead, just being the most unsupportive person ever. And then getting into drugs and the cartel, moving exports out of Cuba. I think this whole story, I don't necessarily need to go through word by word because I think we all understand the gist of it. And it says daddy's words are still driving him to kill and devour, so it's exactly this kind of pressure that's been put on him that's making him worse and worse. But really, you've got to have some self-accountability, and then he becomes disabled, unable to walk, and we get the string verse. And I think the difference audibly in the strings versus the piano, it's a lot more crushing. Like you can see it's like the regret sinking in. And then here's what I said, literally in the first Money Game, borders and invention, like open borders and the whole line between, they're not real. These aren't real lines that we've made in countries. They don't exist. You can't see them. They've just been drawn on a map and then we've plonked some concrete there and some people with a gun and we've gone, and that's a border. And is that right? Absolutely not. And we're parasites in a petri dish with cannibal minds. Petri dishes, obviously, when you've got bacteria growing in them, it gets larger and larger and larger, and then it starts to overtake, and then you can start to see the behavior of different organisms within it. Petri dish has a limited amount of resources for the cells to grow. Planet Earth is similar to a petri dish, and humans are the cells growing in it. If we act with cannibal minds, consuming all the resources and then consuming each other to get what others have, Earth will run out of resources and humanity will perish. I also think there's a point to say on it being like, we consume all the resources and when there's nothing left, we have to consume each other. Like, not literally, but it gets to a point where you have to take from others because these people higher up are are using the scarcity tactics to give so little that then people get this mindset where it's like, I need what the others have, and I can only do that by taking, like, punching down. It's like, what's that Will Wood lyric? It's like, shake your fist at snakes and grass, it looks like punching down. I think I'm going to leave it there. That was Money Game 1, 2 and 3 by Ren, and what an incredible story, just overall 3 videos. I'm going to have to proper, like, listen to it again, think it through, analyse these videos before I come to a really in-depth conclusion on what I think's going on. But I don't think my analysis was too bad. I am seeing Ren live this year at All Points East in London. So if you guys are going to that and you see me, come say hi. I want to meet all of you, and I would actually love to run into Ren and conduct an interview for you guys and for me as well, just to clear up some of the views that I have about his music and his kind of motivations around doing so. If anyone knows how I could go about doing that and reach out to Ren to hopefully get an interview set up, then do let me know. Tag him in everything I do if it helps, absolutely. Ren, I just really want to talk this through with you a bit more because I have so many questions. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram and TikTok. And if you'd like to follow Disloyal Order, we are Disloyal Order online on Instagram and Disloyal Order on TikTok. My name's Rosie, and thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.